Good morning, everybody. Good morning from Amsterdam and from Copenhagen. This is Catalina Flore. A beautiful Monday morning in the Netherlands and ready for another adventurous week. I've started these dialogues every day during the week with the intention to bring experts that I, first of all, that I know and that I respect very much, and bring them in a dialogue in order to serve you, to serve as resources for you, to help you navigate demanding times. Now we are during the Corona times, but while keeping our sanity, keeping our health, and enjoying the journey as much as possible, because these are times of uncertainty. And the more we learn how to deal with this and also enjoy the journey, the more we can flourish. And, we cannot control always the life conditions, but we can control how we respond to them. So all these experts that I bring to talk to me, they have different ways of looking at life and at business, but they all have the same goal, to serve the humanity, to help us move forward and prosper, also at the individual level and at society level. And it is my honor to have to introduce you to Kim Kampp, who is a person I look up to. He's a dear friend. He's my mastermind buddy as well. And he's a life and business strategist from Denmark. He's the founder and the CEO of House of Vision, of Solvexis and Wisdom. And he's also a serial entrepreneur. If I can say so, he has been involved in as an owner and partner in 15 startups for the past 25 years. And he comes with expertise in leadership development, in peak performance, in team and organization development, sales and marketing, business turnaround, intercultural communication, and coaching. So it's a lot that he brings to the table. He works with top organizations in the world, in Denmark and outside Denmark. He's also a trainer at Tony Robbins. He has a long list of qualifications. So, but he's a wonderful person, and he's a very humble one. So he has wonderful results, and let's let the results speak about him. You have a personality that is very inspiring and a business knowledge that is mind-blowing. So welcome, Kim.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me here. And let's talk some business, some mindset, e-learning, relearning, whatever. From your perspective, in these times, we work from home. We work with people that are at home. We want to grow our business. We want to serve our clients. What do we need to focus on from your perspective?
Well, I think we need to focus on in these demanding times. First of all, I think we need to focus on that this is just one season, and I think we need this is the first step, and that is to be in a beautiful state, both business wise and personally, and appreciate the uncertainty as well. And I think that's very important to go in and do that. There's so many things that is out of our control at the moment that we can't control. But there's also some things that we can control. And I think if we start with ourselves and we start control our own emotions on that, and we start to be grateful and appreciate what we actually already have, then I think that's the first step of actually opening our eyes also within our businesses, what is good and what is bad.
Yeah.
And then it's just to take this time now, and to look into yourself and look into your own business and see how you can actually work on that. So that will be the first step to do.
Mm-hmm.
The next step is that there's always, I mean, I think there's things that is working good and there's things that is working not so good,
Yeah.
both in your personal life and in your business. And this is a great way to go in and look to these things. But it's also a way of,
So take an inventory.
yeah. But it's also, but you also need, and that's why you need to start with yourself, because this is probably going to take some hard decisions for you as well. It can be that your business, you have developed a lot of things over time that maybe some of them doesn't work anymore. And sometimes there is a time for killing your darlings. And what I
Killing
mean
your
about,
darlings. Yeah.
yeah, and what I mean about that is that we have a tendency to fall in love with certain aspects of ourselves or of our business,
Yes.
but that doesn't mean that the market wants it.
Yeah.
And that's what we really have to look into. I know that we need to grow from our passion and so on, but we also need to think about it intelligently within a business concept. And that's why I say to people now that this is the time for really look in, and find out that is this really working for us? Is this product working? Is this service working? Do we use too much time on it? Actually, for the value we get, does these employees actually work anymore, or do we have some employees who is great, that we can do more for, and we maybe can give an even bigger scene or a bigger platform to stand on? And this is the things that we need to do now. But it's also a time to get the numbers right, to
Yeah.
go in and look at the numbers in your business, and see what is actually generating value, because the numbers doesn't lie in that way, and it's a good way of getting real of your own falling in love with certain things. So it's the
So
same you do home as well.
yeah. So
Sometimes, sorry.
it's like a spring cleaning, right?
It is.
Spring
It is.
cleaning, and we really need to look under the covers and in the closet, in everything, and make an inventory of what we have and what is
Definitely.
relevant um, in the business and in our life.
Yeah, it's like if you look at your garden as well, and I actually look at this season a little bit more as a spring instead of a winter, because this is where we have to plant a lot of seeds right
Yes,
now.
correct.
And it's
I
the same.
totally agree.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's if you look at your garden as well. I mean, the world is filled with beautiful flowers out there, but it doesn't mean that all the flowers is beautiful in your garden.
Yes.
So we have to find out in your garden what is the perfect flowers for you, and how do we plant them, when do we plant them, and how many do we want, and how many can we actually maintain afterwards.
Yeah.
So I think that's the first step. We like the second step after getting into a beautiful state, we really need to do.
Yeah.
Um,
So more and
and
more people. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. You
yeah,
go.
no,
Go.
and
Go.
then
Go.
it's diversify. I think it's, for a lot of people, it's also a wake up call to diversify your businesses as well. Because if you are in the event business, for example, this is a
Yeah.
big wake up call, because everything around events at the moment is very influenced and is very impacted by the coronavirus. So maybe it's a time for you to also go in and think about how can I actually diversify my investments, but also my service and products as well. Everything around
Yeah.
events at the moment.
And yeah.
Yeah, but it's also within your clients. So you also look within your clients and you look within your industries, because we have been so lucky in my business that we haven't been impacted that much about the corona, and I think it's because of the diversification of it, because we are in different kind of industries, and some of the industries actually has a bigger demand in these times, and then some
Correct.
of the industries doesn't have a bigger demand in these. So that means that our client base goes up in some industries and it goes down in some other industries. But if you base all your business in a very niche, in a very niche industry, and in a very target in a very target group,
Yeah.
then you can be very fragile. Then your business can be very fragile in these times.
Yeah. And how is our leadership put to work right now and to test it actually.
I think this is so beautiful to watch, because I think we need some of these times sometimes. I think we need these times to actually get real with ourselves, but we also need these times sometimes to find out um, which leaders actually inspire us, and where they're coming from. We see it in different countries. We see it around our neighborhood. We see how some people buy like loads of toilet papers and so on. And I mean, you see different kind of personalities showing up in this environment. And I think to unite all these different kind of personalities, that's where we need leadership. Um, but for me, leadership starts with we can unite, like we can practice and we can train and we can work with our own leadership in different ways. I think the best way to do it is locally. I think the best way is just to start where you are, and work on that. And I think some of the best ways actually, I think leadership has a lot to do about courage.
Mm-hmm.
Courage to lead, courage to go in and talk with other people and make a difference. And I've been
And when
thinking a lot about, yeah.
and when you start where you are, means also being very honest to where you are. So not seeing worse, not seeing better than it is, and
Yeah,
also look at yourself in the mirror and in your business. It's
yeah,
very important to know exactly where you are and not lie to yourself.
exactly. And I've been thinking a lot about, I mean, where does this courage actually come from? Where do we have the courage to look at ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
first of all, and where do we have the courage to look at other people? And because how could we actually maybe scale that into other businesses and so on? And I think a lot of it comes from gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's definitely a great tool to work with, because if you have gratitude, I also think that I think courage comes with that. I think it's an effect of your gratitude.
Yes.
So I think it's. I know it's getting a little bit nerdy, but I think if you practice that, I think your courage is coming.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
especially now, we learn new things of doing business, right?
yeah,
So in my let's take coaching or consultants. Many
yeah,
times we do face to face, right? Now we
yeah,
do a lot online.
yeah,
Um, I've noticed also for myself going online there, and it feels at some point, and you expose yourself, and then um, all the insecurities can come at the surface. Oh, I make this mistake, or I
yeah.
didn't ask this question, or um, whatever. But focusing on creating value, I think it's a way to. It can be our uh, North Pole. It can be Pole Star. Sorry, it can give us a direction. Um, just being grateful for what we have achieved, for who we are in life, and focusing on how can we bring more value around us in society, in our words. What's your take on this?
I actually think these two things comes in very good and in handy, because I think we all have problems about courage sometimes, and I think we have problems around it when when we kind of lack our own gratefulness or our own gratitude to ourselves. So if we don't dare to step up in a certain context, it's often because I think we do not think we are enough in that context, and it's a very stressing state to be in. But if
Yeah,
we actually replace that with gratitude, and we replace that with gratefulness of who we are
yeah,
and the context we are actually in,
yeah.
that changes. Your model of the world starts to change in that way. And I think it's like a muscle. I think it's something we have to practice. I don't
Right.
believe that it's just something we just think and then everything is gone, and your life
Hmm.
will be you will have courage forever. I think it's something we need to practice and be aware of. And then I think you talked about goals as well, and I think this is another thing, because I think we all need goals that it can inspire us.
Right.
Um, and I don't think we have enough of that in the world, and I don't think our leaders gives us enough of that in the world. And I think we as leaders in our local environment, I mean, leadership comes in many forms and shapes. Some people is leader in their own life. Some people is leader for a small group. Some people is a leader for a big organization. Yeah. So it comes in many shapes and forms. But I think whatever shape and form it comes in, I think what we may be lacking is the inspirational goals.
So what's
And
your
what
process on this? Because one of the things that you are, your area of interest also
yeah,
is inspiring goal setting in
it is.
business.
And
So how you do that?
it is because I think goal setting, I have been doing a lot of workshops around goal setting. Where do you want to be in 1 year and 3 years and 5 years and so on in your business and in your life and so on. And I think it comes within the whole coaching aspect of it as well, that you put in some goals on that and you need some milestones and so on. And that's great. But inspirational goals for me is a little bit different in how I see it, because inspirational goals is also goals that is not reachable right now. And I think we need that. Let's take, for example, if we put it on a big platform. In the old days, we had Martin Luther King, who came out and he gave the world some inspirational goals. We had no clue about how we should do that, because there was so many strong values of the world, especially in the States and all around the world. So we had no clue about how we could actually do that. How could we actually unite people? But this was an inspirational goal. We had also the moon landing. The moon landing, we landed on the moon for no reason at all. Isn't that weird? We just did it because we could. We landed on the moon because we had the technology and the capability of landing on the moon, which inspired a whole world, and have been doing that for 50 years from now. And that's what I think sometimes we need to do as people as well. I think sometimes we have to put in some goals that is
draw us like a magnet, and draw us like a magnet.
Exactly. And that we are passionate about, and that we think it's unreasonable, and this is just something we want to do because we can. We know we can do that. We don't know how the road is going to be, or the journey is going to be to that, but I think that is what unites people sometimes. Because it takes the ego out of it.
So setting these unreasonable, inspiring goals means also that we need to learn new things, or we need to relearn what we know. And in these times, we need to do a lot of e-learning. This is one of your specialties, e-learning. So you created probably the most successful e-learning in sales training in Denmark. So help us a little bit understand how to get more into this e-learning and looking at the learning.
I started my e-learning journey years back. I've been teaching sales for many years, and then, how old is it now? I think it must be like 8 years old now. The whole program on it, and I actually started it because first I was very focused about my own personal branding. I'm not that anymore. I don't believe that much in it anymore, and I got a little bit tired of it. And I was thinking that I needed to scale my own business, so I needed to make and develop some products that was not demanding the time that I needed to use time on.
So, which business were you in at that time?
At that time, I was in my coaching business. And I wanted to scale my coaching business, but the problem was that I was selling my time, as most of us coaches is, So I needed to.
When you say you're selling your time, you mean you wouldn't have additional income, so your only income was for the time that you spend with the client, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, and it has a limitation on that. It both have a limitation time-wise, but it also have a limitation money-wise. Also here, depending on your target group as well, because there is, not all of us is famous coaches, worldwide coaches that can charge, I don't know how much per hour and so on. So there is like a limitation on how much people sometimes can pay in certain different kind of markets in that way. So I wanted to develop something that was more scalable. And that's why I went into the whole online business. And that was a big journey for me. First of all, I remember shooting the first video. I think it took like, I can't remember it exactly, but I think it took like 3 or 4 days because, you know, I was so scared about that. You know, I was re-recording that video all the time, you know, and trying to say it in a different way and putting a little YouTube channel up and, you know, all these things, you know, I'm going through this and I had to put the wording differently and have to stand differently. And, you know, the camera was not the best. And, you know, I was
We
a
are
lot, I was
our
very,
best. We are our best criticizers, you know.
exactly. So,
Critics,
and I
sorry.
was using so much time on it, and I didn't have really a clue about how I should go
Yeah.
into the whole online business. And then I remember I posted the video, and I think I got 17 views after 2 weeks or something, and half of them probably myself from different computers and some friends, and that was it. So I mean, if I've been lucky, maybe 5 people have viewed it or something. And it just gave me a wake-up call and just say, like, it really doesn't matter, you know, just get the things out there, you know.
You had a
Don't
very
need,
important why, right? You knew why
yeah.
you wanted to do it.
I knew why I wanted to do it, and I also got a wake-up call that, I mean, relax a little bit about it. You know, people. I mean, and if they're criticizing you, then let them do that. You know, and you need practice as well. So I actually started to record more videos and that, and then I started to record audio. And I had like the whole program is a 7.5 hour audio program, and then it has 2 hours of videos, and then has a lot of written material as well. And I think I have like, is it 50 hours or something of recording in audio? You have to edit afterwards, so it takes a long time. And
Yeah.
I had to do it in I had a little closet, and I put it up and so on, so the sound was better and so on. And I made it in GarageBand in your Mac, which is a great program, and you can easily do that as well if you
Yeah.
want to do it. You don't
Mhm.
need to go out and buy all kind of fancy equipment. But today there's all kind of other services and platforms and so on that you can use. But that was good enough for me. Then I put up the homepage and I started selling it.
Mhm.
And it was so weird, you know, to get that feeling that people just started to buy things while you are not there, you know. And it was a great feeling because you actually felt that now you could actually scale that business in some ways. And the good thing about online products is that it takes a long time to make, but when it's first made, it's actually very cheap to maintain. So you can also work with the product. You can work with the pricing of it because it doesn't cost that much to get a new customer. It's basically just some clicks, you know, and you have that into your account, depending on your platform today and so on, how it's actually structured. But so that makes it easy, and it makes it scalable, and you can put it in, and you can work with it within different kind of settings. So if you're delivering a coaching session, you can put the online product in, or if you have a speech, you can give it to everybody who participate, or you can divide it up, and you know, you can make all the funnels and all these things within the whole online programming. So I can definitely recommend to go out and work on these things. Since then, I developed it into different areas. I developed 2 models within coaching, where I developed a personal type test on that as well. But it's also based, like it's built on an online platform. But it's a great tool as well. I can only recommend that to all the coaches out there. You don't need to develop a personal type test and a model and so on as I had, but there is plenty of models out there you can go out and you can work with, and you can call
Yeah.
them up, and you can probably make agreement with the companies and so
Okay.
on. So
I
yeah.
stop you here because it sounds very merry. And there are many people that are scared in a way about technology. You speak,
Yeah.
you're already master it, and then you know how to deal with it. For those people that are scared about they are blocked in their actions about these thoughts of technologies, these beliefs, help us here. What to
If they're scared about the technology around it,
And
yeah.
if
Well,
the technology, the thought of, oh my God, I need to build funnels, I need to become expert in technology, I'm not good
yeah,
at
yeah.
that. What? And I don't do anything. What to
But
do?
I think there's 2 steps. Like, there's a couple of steps in it. First of all, you have to get used to speak in front of a camera. If your online product needs to have something with a camera in that way, you also need to get used to listening to your own voice in that way. And I think these like podcast, video, YouTube videos, and so on, just work with it, try it, you know, and get used to that. then if you really are not, if you don't like the whole technology and it's really nothing of your interest, and you then hire somebody. There is so many people out there today who is
Where?
great at
Where do
this.
you go? Where do you
I
go
can.
to hire?
What you can go is that if you don't have anything in your local environment, people who can do that. First of all, that's what I would do. I will ask in Facebook and whatever social platform you're on, ask for some references. If somebody know anybody who can do that. If you don't have anybody locally, you can go into Guru, Freelancer, and so on, with this like internet pages, but there is like thousands and thousands of freelancers out there.
Okay, so guru.com and freelancer.com, and then
Freelancer, yeah,
you find
yeah.
the.
Then you can basically describe your product, and then you will get a lot of different kind of offers back. And you can also describe your product in a way of how many. What you have to figure out is that how many online programs do you maybe want to start with, and then they will give you some advisory around the platforms. And about the platforms, I think it's the same as a CRM system, customer relation management system, that a lot of companies has, is that choose one and get good at that,
Mhm.
because a lot of the platforms can do more or less the same. There's different kind of pricing in it. But if you compare the the cost of switching platforms all the time, for what it actually costs a little bit more a month, I mean, that is not, it's not a very good comparison. I mean, that is not a very good business. So just get good at one platform and use that, and align that with the freelancer you're going to use, because a lot of the freelancer you get in freelancer.com and guru.com and so on, they also work with maybe only one platform or two platforms. So you need to ask them which kind of platform do they use in that way, so you get good at that. And I know that in if you have any people from the States on this call, Kajabi is very big there in this
Kajabi.
environment.
Yeah.
Kajabi has been big, but there's a lot of other platforms out there. There's Moodle, which is a free.
Which one? Which one?
Moodle is called Moodle, Moodle, which is a free version. I use something called Illumi, and there's so many different out there, but just get good at one and be sure that your freelancer can use that platform. That's the main thing, and then get good at it, or have your freelancer get good at it, and then at least have him or her to educate yourself in how you are actually working on the back end on it. You don't need to be educated in how to program it, but you need to be educated in how to manage the different kind of courses and look at your numbers, because a lot of these platforms can give you a lot of tracking.
Yes.
It's the same as an internet homepage. It can give you a lot of tracking, who is looking at your homepage, who is not looking at your homepage, and so on. The same platform can do.
So here's the thing: you go to Brandon Bouchard, and you go to all these experts in online marketing and in the digital world. They say, "Yeah, make your products, and you're gonna be successful," and that is not true. Most of the people are not successful in creating online products and in selling them, or using them to increase their sales. Basically, they're not successful. That's the reality. So what are the critical factors? Let's say you get the platform, you go through the mind blockages about technology and whatever it is. You put yourself out there. You have your product. You work with freelancers. What are critical steps that you need to take to make this a success?
I think you have to think around it. You have to think around. It's the same when a lot of people is writing books at the moment. They're writing a new book, how to be successful, or whatever they're writing about. And that is great. All of these things is great, but you have to think around the product. So that means that, is this product something that you can actually speak about? Is it something you can make workshop about? Is this something you can make maybe a Facebook group about? Is this something you can make a LinkedIn group about? Is this something you can use in your coaching? So you have to think around the product. It's the same thing as when you write a book. The biggest mistake people do is that they write a book and then they think, this is it. They put it on Amazon and then they get rich.
So what
This
you're
is just
saying,
the first step.
so what you're saying is using this as a marketing tools, as a
Exactly. Yeah.
entering is like the beginning of a funnel, right?
Yeah.
To attract clients. Yeah.
And it's just a part of your services. It's just a part of your business. It doesn't mean to, if it is only, if you only stand on that in your business and you don't have anything else, I think maybe that's where it's getting too fragile in that way.
So
Because it's
again,
also
don't put all your eggs into one basket, right?
exactly. And there's also like sometimes you don't hit it right. And sometimes there is a time to market as well. So sometimes you need to build a base of interested customers before they start to buy it. So there's also the timing in it. And that's what I see a lot of times, that people, they go out and they use all the time in that, and then they don't earn any money for 3 months, and then they say, okay, we drop it. You know, we just drop that because it didn't work. But you need to diversify your business. You need to have that as one of the things you do, but at the same time as you're doing other things. It's the same thing that Brandon Bouchard do, or Tony Robbins do, and so on. Tony Robbins is not only about his products. Tony Robbins is also doing his events and all kind of other things. The same is Brandon Bouchard doing. And there's some of the products works better than some of the other ones, you know. And then don't be scared about it. Just get it out there. And let sometimes, you know, this is the great thing. This is the great thing about the internet. And I think when you get over yourself, and you start to build Facebook groups and so on, and you start to have the courage inside yourself, then let the customer be the judge of it. Because I think sometimes we judge our product before anybody have seen it.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing that I think in our mind, sometimes we have, like, we give ourselves a lot of questions. You know, is this good enough? Is it not good? Is it great? Is it not great? And so on. So we have a lot of questions around that, you know, and that moves us to a certain amount of actions we take or not take, you know.
Yeah.
And if we keep on saying to ourselves that this is not a good product, it will never be good, then we don't take many actions on it. But the thing is that all this is just a mind game. All this is just something that is going on inside your own brain. You have no idea about what the customer thinks about it. And that's what I see so many times also in my coaching business. People come and say, I can't do this. People don't want to have this. People don't like that. I say, how do you know? Nobody knows. I mean, so instead of, you know, let the customer test it for you. And that's sometimes also with the online program, e-learning and so on, you don't need to have all the content before you start. You can build what I call a storyline on these things. So you build it in different kind of segments. So that means that if you, for example, start and say, I want to do a lot for igniting women's leadership, for example, if that is what you want to do. Then you say, okay, I want to go in and the first course should be this. Maybe it's just a 6-hour course. Maybe it's just a 1-hour course. Maybe it's just a podcast, you know, and you let people judge that. And that's why I think actually that you're training your own muscles together with the customers in that way. So because the problem is,
go finish it.
And that's what I see a lot of times, that people, they think they have to develop the whole storyline. They think they have to develop everything before they start. But they don't need to. They don't need to. And why should we? Because if we do that, then it's actually that we think that we know better than our customers.
Yeah. So let's get practical. You had your sale. Let's think about this. Your sales e-learning program that became the most popular in Denmark.
Yeah.
So what did you do? Just the main things. How did you develop this?
Well, then after I recorded,
and how did you communicate with your clients? Right, to ask.
I started. I mean, in that time, when I recorded all of it, I put it into. I used, what was that? I made it in optimized press. That was the first thing I made it in. That was like a little bit similar to Kajabi. So that's how I made my my first online course. So I made it into that, and I built sorry, I built it up in different kind of models. It was a 6-day course. Well, it is a 6-day course. Today it's divided up in different parts and so on. But
Yeah.
so I actually put it up in different kind of models. It's like Lego. You actually have different kind of
Like,
models that you can actually put into it. And that was actually, I think that was the best thing, because then it's easier to work with. Because then you start, for example, and you say, I want to have, how do I get in contact with my customers? That could be the first model. Or what do I do if people say no to whatever I'm selling? That could be a second model, and then I work with that, and I put some audio on it, I put some video on it, and I put some written material and exercises on it.
did
So
did you
actually,
first,
and yeah,
did you
yeah,
first think about your ideal client and what they needed, or how did you develop this?
I did think about my ideal client, but I also got much more clever when I started to promote it.
Uh-huh.
So the ideal clients that I was thinking about, not all of them wanted it. And I had to for some of it, it was too long. That's why I divided it up. So my ideal client was something that I thought about. I didn't test it in the market in that way. So I did think about that before, but I got much more knowledge when I started to promote it out. I promoted it out in newsletters, in speeches I did around the country, and I did it in the social media. So I made a Facebook group around it and so on, and I started to promote it in that way. So yeah,
Awesome.
but yeah, and one more. I mean, yeah, since then, well, today I developed courses within. Um, well, maybe that's a better story, another story, because I developed some. We actually built some online courses within. This has nothing to do with with the coaching. I was just thinking, what could I else do? And I wanted to go into another industry, so we actually built it up a huge. We wanted to make a huge onboarding online system for the construction industry. I do work within the construction industry as well. So we built up here. We did a little bit the same mistake again. We started to build a huge onboarding system. What should a manager do with the employees, and the employees ask the manager for in the first week before they came, first week, after 1 month, 3 months, and so on. And it was a huge program in that way. And we thought that all the clients really wanted that because it didn't exist out there. But again, we got much more clever when we actually started to put it out in the market because it was too much. I mean, and I think that's what sometimes that's a good lesson. A lesson I think for us sometimes is that if we really get passionate about a product, we think that the customer knows as much as we do, and they don't. They don't have the book. They don't have the Bible. They don't have
So
whatever
you
it
need
is
to
that we.
educate. You need to
We
educate
need
them.
to educate, and we need to do it step by step. So in this with the construction industry, we actually ended up just making safety inductions for construction sites around the country, which was a very, very good business as well. But it was basically what is it, like a half-hour course when people have to enter that, and they have to have the general requirements for safety and so on. So a whole big online product just came down to that, and that's what all the clients wanted. And now they start to talk about onboarding in a different way. So now we can start to build the steps on in a different way, that way. So I think that's one of the biggest learnings I got, is that don't do it too extensive for us in the beginning. Work with your customers and do that with a little online program,
And when you
and
say
see
do
what
it
they
with
think.
your clients or do it with your customers,
Yeah,
also it comes learning and educating them. So it's like being in a curious state of
it is.
mind,
Yeah,
right? How can I
yeah,
also learn and improve this, but also open the mind of the client, right? Because we don't know what we don't know.
no, exactly. And it's the same in these times now. Um, in these times as well, people get much more used to seeing themselves on camera,
Yeah,
listening to their own audio, but they
yeah,
also get much more used to Zoom calls,
yeah.
Facebook calls, all kind of things. For example, I do serve as a chairman in a board here in the capital of Denmark, with this organization of leaders and managers. And I remember I suggested last year for the board that we should maybe have 1 or 2 online meetings each year. So we didn't have to meet each month physically, but we could just do like a Zoom call, because all of us have very extensive calendars, so to say, So
Yeah.
sometimes maybe it's just easier to do that. And they were like, no, 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 we can't do that. Why should we do that? And I mean, we will not get the same out of it and so on. And now we are forced to it. And now I actually got a suggestion for some of the board members and say, maybe we should do this, maybe we should do this 1 or 2 times a year. So I think it's like, if you start in a little way, and sometimes in these times we get forced to it, but otherwise, if you start in little ways and people start to get the feeling around it,
Yeah.
they're like, okay, this is actually okay. This can work for me, And I think that's where we actually, that's what we have to understand sometimes.
Yeah,
So
because
sometimes less is more.
yeah, and yes, and then when change comes, change can come as a hurricane, and we are forced, like with the corona right now, to do things differently. Or you can start step for step. So you give time to people to get used with a new way of working, and yeah, look at all the progress and then celebrate the progress on the way, right?
Definitely. I mean, and I think that's what that's why maybe in these times this is a good chance afterwards, because I think actually that some people are actually starting to. I mean, a lot of people talk about that after this coronavirus, post-coronavirus, the world will be different. Of course, it will be different.
Yes. Yes.
It's no matter what happens, the world is always different tomorrow. But I think that, like you say, some of it people start to appreciate other things that they haven't been doing before. I also think that sometimes people, they start to appreciate maybe just working from home, being home, enjoying the moment home, and I also think sometimes that people get a little bit more focused in the communication. And that's actually what I like about these Zoom calls sometimes, because when I have it with some of my employees, sometimes it gets much more intensive. So it's like, now we have a half hour, we have to figure this out. So it's not like we are meeting for 3 hours lunch and meeting and so on. So it's a little bit more intensive in that way.
And there is a sense of urgency as well, right?
It is, and we also start to appreciate to see you. I mean, now it's like, I've been looking forward to see Catalina, because I haven't seen Catalina. Normally we travel and sometimes we meet all around the world, So it's like, I really appreciate this time together now. And I think people do that home. I think they do it in the businesses as well. And the funny thing is that it's little things. It can be all kind of small things, It can be like seeing the flowers grow, It can be looking out there and seeing, like, now everything is getting green again. It can be so many things, and I think it's the same within your businesses,
Yeah.
And
Does this make you a more conscious entrepreneur, Kim?
It definitely makes me more conscious that we have to ignite our own leadership. People who have a passion to do something better in this world, this is a great time. This is such a great time for igniting this and getting real about yourself.
And it's not a popularity contest here. It's just about being your best and serve the world.
It is, and it's something that maybe it's my age as well. I'm getting older as well, but it's like, I have been founding, what they call founding, started a prize award here in Denmark. And this year is our 4th year. And what we do is that we nominate different kind of local leaders in the environment who do something within volunteer work, social responsibility, entrepreneurship, and working environment. And we have been doing that for 3 years. This is our 4th year, and we nominate them, and then each of from all these nominees, we get some candidates, and then we have a lot of members within this organization I represent that votes on the best one. and it's I get so inspired of this, because it's people who is like doing this just outside my door, and I get so inspired of that, because I think sometimes that it's a little bit the same as with the online products and whatever we are doing in our business. Sometimes we think that we have to dominate the whole world, and sometimes we think that our videos is going to be seen by the whole world.
No,
Nobody cares.
of course.
Maybe your local environment maybe cares, but the rest is just somebody who's coming into your video. And I think that's what sometimes is stopping people, that they think I can't do this unless that I'm the new whatever. And
Oprah
this is
Winfrey
why,
or yeah.
yeah, and that's why I was getting so inspired. And there was one of the nominees that I knew from before. I don't want to mention his name here, and he was the sales director of a big chain of grocery shops in Denmark, one of the biggest chains, and they have thousands of employees. And he started a program within that company to hire in blind people and people with autism and so on. And I can't remember the numbers. I think it was 200 or 300 people or something. He at that time, it's probably bigger today, that he hired in. And, and then I asked him, said, "But why are you doing this? You're earning plenty of money. You get a lot of significance. Have a great job. And if you look at his background, he had been doing a lot of amazing, funny things and so on." He said, "Because my job doesn't mean anything." So what do you mean? He said, "Well, if I'm not here tomorrow, maybe there's coming a new sales director. Maybe they earn a little bit more. Maybe they earn less. Who knows? Maybe he's better than I am. And if the retailer, if the whole grocery chain is not here, then maybe people can't buy the toilet paper, not because of the crisis, but because of they have to walk 200 meters more to buy the toilet paper.
Yes.
So what does it matter? I said, okay, that's one model of the world. He said, but what
Yes.
matters is what I have done here.
Yeah.
I've given work to people that couldn't find work before. And I found a platform for them, not only just to give them work, but also to give them a work where they actually have a lot of success in because of their circumstances, And I think that is so beautiful. And I think this is what we all have to think about in these times, is that what you're doing, how do you actually make it matter? How do you make it matter in your local environment? And I'm not saying that you have to go out and be the new Mother Teresa or whatever,
No.
Maybe you have to develop an online program for the kids in school in your local environment. Maybe you have to, I don't know, but I think if you start to do that,
Yeah.
I think you ignite your gratefulness. And when you ignite your gratefulness, I think courage is coming in a different way.
Natural, and in a natural way.
Yeah. And that's where I think you ignite your leadership. And from that off, maybe you start to lead the whole world. What do I know? But it doesn't have to be a goal. Put an inspirational goal instead, and then maybe you have people to join that.
Yeah.
Because if we only put goals from our own model of the world out,
It's not
then I think
work.
then it's harder to ignite that. But if we find the inspirational goals that people can unite on, and sometimes we just need to put a goal on, and sometimes we just have to lead people through the North Star or whatever, just because we can.
Yes.
It doesn't have to involve money. It doesn't have to involve more significance or more certainty or more uncertainty or whatever it is. You just need to go out there and live life and do that. And I think sometimes then you start to ignite people, and that's definitely one of the things that this crisis have done for me, and I'm really looking forward to that. I don't know how that path will be now, but it's sometimes you feel that you really want to do more of this, all the time, and I'm really looking into finding some of these inspirational goals, because I think it's something that we can ignite on, and I want to have some looking into that. What could be a funny inspirational goals that we can go after and we can do just because we can,
and
It
help the
doesn't need
society,
help the
with elevate
society.
our experience and those
Yeah,
that we impact, right? Hi,
yeah,
James.
yeah.
Good to see you.
We
And
had like, yeah,
yeah,
sorry.
Yeah,
We had in this crisis. I saw there were some people who was making. They were a little bit bored, and then I think it was there some moms who was starting a little organization where they were cleaning the local city. Just because they could, because they have time left, time, now. So they're going around and cleaning that, and they still had the social distance, but and the town got clean, and I was just like, how cool is that? That is just an
yes.
inspirational goal. It doesn't mean that you earn money. It doesn't mean that anything, but people could actually go around and do that, So
And
it's
it makes
all
you a
kind of,
better person. Yes.
it makes you a better person. I think it
Yeah.
just makes you grateful for the place
Yeah.
you live in, basically,
Yeah.
what better to do, what better to have than that,
Awesome. So just if you're still listening, just let us know also what you want to hear in the future. What kind of topics are on top of your mind? What keeps you awake at night? What are your main concerns that you'd like to be addressed? So wonderful, Kim. It's always a pleasure to connect with you. Leave us with 3 nudges that are important from your perspective.
First of all, acknowledge yourself, be grateful for who you are and the business you already have. So start to look at that, look at all the positive sides in that way. And second of all, be ready to kill some of your darlings. So maybe you had something that has not
Say
been serving
goodbye.
you.
Yeah.
Say goodbye to it and acknowledge
Not
it.
only as a business, right? But also from the way of thinking, maybe.
And just make that as a new great beginning. Acknowledge it, be grateful for it. Forgive yourself for having that. And acknowledge what the strengths it actually gave you, but then say goodbye to it. And then what the third one? Go out and get some inspiration to do something. To do something that matters more than yourself. Because I think if we have that inside us, I think we ignite so much energy. I think I think we all, me included, we get too caught up in our own, just go out and get inspiration and let the world be about something more than yourself, and that's where the energy comes from.
Yeah, you, Joe Guthrie, and me are we consider that this is spring, not winter necessarily.
Exactly. Yeah.
So go literally and metaphorically and plant some seeds and water the
Plant some great
seeds.
seeds. And let the seeds, let your garden be a garden that can be seen by somebody else as well.
Yes.
Or maybe plant seeds together with somebody else. And I think that's will give you so much energy and a lot of joy. Because maybe we find out here that the world is not, we as human beings is not made of sitting alone.
No.
And being all caught up in ourselves. So it's time to go out and unite us after this. And I think we need leaders to do that.
Thank you so much, Kim. Have a wonderful day, wonderful week. Stay healthy, you and family, and much love till next time. Thank you so much for being.
Thank you, Catalina. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.